Messing up there. Alright, welcome back to the stream. Away from the BRB. Yes, indeed, it is Umineko time. I don't think there's a problem with me saying this. A funny instance since the last time we played. So, I played this Umineko Friday. And as, if you watch this on the VODs, on YouTube, maybe you're less in the know on this, but I've got, like, actual real-life friends who are watching me play this game, watching the streams, sometimes live, sometimes archived, whatever the case is. And they weren't able to make the last live stream of this game, which I think was last Friday. So I actually hung out with them to go see. We were going to go watch a movie on Saturday night, which we did, and it was great. But so they didn't make it to the Friday one, and sometimes they have trouble making it to these midweek ones just because scheduling and stuff. But they were trying to catch up on the Friday night one on Saturday before I made it, because I went to go see them. So I hung out with them, and they were actually in the middle of watching the VOD on Twitch of me finishing the Friday night stream. So then they were like, is it weird if we watch the rest of this with you sitting here? Can we watch this? And at first I was like, it's totally fine, and we ended up doing it. It was like, it was a little weird. It was a little weird, but not really that weird. It was just more funny than anything, just because I was like, so of course, like, there's the weirdness of, like, hearing myself speak about whatever. Like, hearing yourself talk is always weird. That's just a thing. But, like, also on top of that, just it felt like I was recording almost like a director's commentary. And then the joke was made where I was like, oh, I will, you know, by the time we finish this, hopefully sometime this year, then I'll wait 1 year, and then I will just re-watch me playing Umineko myself, and I'll do a not director's commentary, but I'll do like a commentary on my commentary of playing the game the first time. So then, not only will I have a playthrough of me playing Umineko, but I'll have a series where I just watch my playthrough of Umineko, and it'll be like double take of me just being like, oh, and then this is where I said this thing, and it would be like a year later. I would have to wait at least like a year or something, because I don't think I could do it immediately. I would just not. I just would not be able to do it immediately or right after I finish. But like, we just made jokes about how like I should just do that as soon as I finish. Just turn around and just make like a new series of me just rewatching myself. See all the lame jokes I made the first time. See if I remember anything. But then I was like, I just can't, because I was like, dude, I know by the time I finish this. I know when I finish this, hopefully again, before the end of the year, calendar year here, I know immediately people are going to be like, hey, you need to read the other one. You need to read Higurashi. Is that what it's called? Or am I just making that up? Whatever it's fucking called. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But they're like, you gotta fucking read that now. Like, I know the calls are going to be in. That I immediately gotta move on to the next thing. There's no time. There's no time for anything. As I get older and older, the demands for more will continue to grow. But yeah, I just thought it was funny. Fun little story. And I don't think they're here tonight. But like, there's a chance they'll probably see this. And then it's a triple inception. They'll hear me, they'll be watching the VOD, and they'll hear me talk about the time where they watched the last part with me in the room, but also it was me playing the game. It's great. But it was also fun. Like, there was a weird thing where it was like, oh, because normally if they're watching VODs, then I don't get that. I don't get whatever they say if they're watching just the VOD and not live. But then I was like, oh, now I get to see what they're saying as I'm like playing it. And it was right at the point we basically kicked in right when that new character was introduced. What was his name? Renove, I believe? Yes, Renove. It was like right before he came in is when... So it was like only like the last like 30 minutes or so. Speaking of, that's what happened last time in the series, in the stream here for this game. We met Renove, the 27th or something, strongest demon or something, who is at the beck and call of Beatrice. It seems like she has a waitstaff of her own, is what I predicted, just like how she has, or how the other master of the house, Kinzo, has a waitstaff. It seems as if she equally, to be on equal footing, has her own waitstaff potential kind of thing, amongst obviously the goat heads, whatever. I think it's a big kind of like a big metaphor, essentially, for the whole, like, as we've seen constantly in this game, the chessboard, like, analogies, where it's essentially you're setting up your different sides at every time the cycle renews itself. So we're only getting closer to essentially show... they use, like, language about, like, setting up the pieces, like, doing that over again and stuff. And so it seems like it's just, like, an equaling of the sides and everything, where it's like, all right, you have your pieces, I have my pieces, and then we're gonna go again kind of thing. So I assume that's what that was mostly. If I go back even more, oh yeah, oh, this was right before so the adults, man, I only remember this because of I watched I watched my friends watch me play this game. The adults, the kids of Kinzo, were gonna go confront him, and they were gonna ask him about the letter that Maria was given from Beatrice. And so that's why left behind here, Kairi, Nanjo, and the children. So cool shit. Let's go. In the middle of all this was Maria, who looked a little scared at the adult's sudden change. However, judging from her appearance, she didn't look like she realized the full meaning of what she just read. What in the world was that all about? I don't get it. They're all bastards. I gotta adjust audio. Okay. Do they really want the inheritance that much? Yes, Battler. They do. They want it very badly. Everyone. This is our parents' problem. It has nothing to do with us. So you mustn't worry about it. Even if you say that, they were so blatant about it. I can't believe them. Showing off their greed like that. Everyone has to believe together that we'll be happy. That's right. We all did promise. Come on, Battler-kun. Jessica-chan, you too. I feel horrible. We couldn't accept it at all, but we laid down our arms for the time being. We'd been vaguely aware of how filthy this family conference was going to be. However, after that 6-year blank, I couldn't help being shocked. When he saw that the children were completely dejected, Dr. Nanjo cleared his throat uncomfortably.
大人の話です。
It's an adult matter.
お若い皆さんとは関係のないことですよ。
It has nothing to do with all of you young people.
忘れてしまいましょう。
Let us forget about it.
それができりゃやってるぜ。
I would if I could.
辛いのはわかるわ。
I know it's hard.
でも今は忘れてあげて。
But forget it for now.
あなたたちの将来を少しでも豊かにするため、みんなの両親は必死で戦ってるのよ。
All of your parents are fighting frantically to make your futures just a little brighter.
そしてやがて傷つき帰ってくるお父さんたちをどうかそんな冷たい目で迎えないであげて。
Please, don't look at your injured parents with those cold eyes when they come back. Yeah, they're just lighting here. Dots.
いくらキリエさんの頼みでも
No matter how much you ask us, Kairi-san,
それは難しいぜ。
that'll be tough.
そう割り切れるなら
Wow, the kids are finally realizing that their parents suck. There comes a time in every kid's life when you have to realize that your parents might actually suck. Or have, at the very least, some shitty tendencies. If we could be happy with an explanation like that,
子供なんてやってねえぜ。
we wouldn't be kids.
みんな幸
Everyone be happy! God, Maria just wants people to be happy.
せ。暗くなるのダメ。
Can't get dark!
信じて。
Believe!
みんなで幸せになれるって信じないと幸せが逃げちゃう。
If everyone doesn't believe we can be happy, that happiness will get away.
みんなで信じないとダメなの。
Everyone has to believe.
いい話ね。
I like the sound of that.
私も信じるわ。
I'll believe too.
私たちは幸せになれるわよ。
I'll believe we can find happiness. Kyrie, you better fucking live through the first killing round, Kyrie. I swear to God. I swear I'm gonna be so upset if she dies again.
キリエおばさんありがとう。
And Kyrie, thank you.
パトラとジェシカお姉ちゃんも信じて。
Battler and Jessica, you believe too.
ベアトリーチェも信じないと魔法が力を持たないっていつも言ってる。
Beatrice is also always saying that magic won't have any power if you don't believe. Kyrie-san rose from her seat quietly, went over to Maria, and crouched down so that their eyes met.
キリエおばさんが信じてくれた。
Aunt Kyrie believed.
あとバトラとジェシカお姉ちゃんが信じないとダメ。
Now Battler and Jessica have to believe.
二人とも強いもの。
Those two are strong.
すぐに元気になってそうしてくれるわよ。
They'll feel better soon, and then they'll believe. Yeah.
それより
More importantly,
教えてほしいの。
I want you to tell me something. And Kyrie-san said that Jessica, George, Niki, and Dr. Nanjo and I all listened closely. It looked like our parents were so concerned with the inheritance problem that grandfather filled their minds. But we wanted to ask Marie about something simpler. Oh?
何？
What?
マリアちゃんにその手紙を渡したのって誰？
Who gave you that letter?
ベアトリーチェ。
Beatrice!
肖像画に描かれている魔女の？
The witch drawn in that portrait?
パサと一緒にこの手紙もくれたの。
She gave me this letter and an umbrella.
そしてね、マリアのバラが折れちゃってたのを魔法で直してくれたの。
And she used magic to fix my rose that was broken. Yeah, I was literally gonna make that point too. I'm like, oh my god, they're asking her it again. But then I was like, wait, this is obviously a different cycle, so they didn't go through their whole, like, I mean, what was in the previous cycle where, or now I'm gonna start mixing them up. It was the first or second one where, like, they constantly were asking and yelling at her, like, no, stop saying Beatrice! Tell us who gave you the letter. But I guess this is a different cycle than that, so makes sense. Let's go ask her a bunch of million times again.
ベアトリーチェは何でもできるすごい魔女なの。
Sugoi. Beatrice is an awesome witch who can do anything.
詳しく聞かせてくれるかしら。
Oh yeah, Rosa did see it the second time. That's a good point. Yeah. So Rosa could have been there to confirm that it was a mystery person. So I guess it was the first time that, the first cycle, where they were, like, constantly just harassing her. Like, no, Maria! Stop saying Beatrice! Could you tell us about that in a bit more detail? Oh. Oh, man. I always feel like a fool when, like, within, like, 10 minutes of a new section, we get to the nice transition thing. There's just no way to know. There's just no way to know. It's fine. It's not the worst thing. Without even being allowed to wait for dessert, we were chased out of the room. I heard that in the end, our parents were unable to get grandfather to respond. Great. Well, I hate to say it, but I feel like giving grandfather a high five right now. He was probably pretty satisfied with how his strange letter had given his children a good shock, since they'd all been so infatuated with the inheritance problem while grandfather was still alive. I also felt like our despicable parents had gotten what they deserved in all this confusion. But I couldn't really say that I was feeling great. I felt all sulky. Apparently grandfather hadn't seemed concerned with the whole thing, but he also hadn't denied anything about the letter either. When talking about the witch's letter, grandfather's name kept popping up. If grandfather knew that someone was stealing his name, then considering his character, he'd probably be mad with rage. But even though grandfather now knew the contents of that letter, he coldly ignored it. So, did that count as a silent yes? Aunt Eva and Dad were trying to interpret the letter in their favor, their greed clearly visible. It wouldn't have mattered so much if that was all, but the adults had now started focusing on Maria, who had received the letter. They kept pounding her with questions about who had given it to her. Here we go again. Here we go again. Maria repeated over and over again that she had gotten it from Beatrice, but there was no way such a mysterious person could have sneaked onto the island. After all, this island's small. There's no one living on the outside, and there's no one living on it outside the Yoshiromiya family household. Maria kept repeating that she'd gotten it from Beatrice no matter how many times she was asked. The adults seemed to think she was trying to trick them, so they didn't hold back and questioned her until she broke out in tears. When Maria was released, she sobbed, all worn out from crying. After our parents ordered us to go to the guest house and take Maria with us, they shut themselves up in the dining hall, started getting louder and louder as they discussed the inheritance. It seemed that, because of that strange letter, Uncle Krause's chances of becoming the next head might have been reduced to a blank slate, and in exchange for accepting him, my dad and the rest were trying to swindle Uncle Krause out of a lot of money, or something like that. Disgusted as we were, Jessica and I were happy to move over to the guest house. We didn't want to be under the same roof as those filthy adults, their heads so filled with thoughts about money. George Niki pleaded on our parents' behalf, saying that he wanted us to understand them. I understood his reasoning. No matter how filthy this talk of money was, it wouldn't go away if we just closed our eyes to it. But even so, how could they sink so low as to overtly fight over the money of the dead? Wind. Maria had cried herself dry and was hiding in her bed. She hadn't even twitched for a while, so she was probably sleeping.
マリアちゃんは一体誰にあの手紙をもらったんだろうね。
Who in the world gave that letter to Maria-chan?
ジョージ兄さん、
George Nissan.
それはもう聞いちゃダメだぜ。
You can't ask her that anymore.
マリアがベアトリーチェにもらったって言うなら、それでいいじゃねえかよ。
Isn't it fine to say that Maria got it from Beatrice and leave it at that?
これ以上マリアを泣かせたくないしな。
After all, we don't want to make her cry any more than this. Even though we said that, we couldn't clear away a gloomy feeling.
この島には今18人しかいないんだよ。
There are only 18 people on this island now.
そこにこの雨の中未知の19人目が マリアちゃんに手紙を託して今もどこかに隠れているというのは
The thought that somewhere in the rain, a 19th person gave Maria-chan that letter and is now hiding somewhere? I mean, I hate to correct George like this, but I mean, in theory, there might be 20 people on this island now. We got Renove. He might be entering the game.
正直現実的ではないね。
It doesn't seem realistic at all.
おそらくあの肖像画のドレスをシャノンあたりにでも着てもらってうまくマリアと口裏を合わせたってことじゃねえのかな。
Most likely, somebody got Shannon or someone to put on the dress from that portrait, and cleverly got Maria to go along with their story.
もっともマリアの場合あのドレスを見たらそれだけでベアトリーチェだと信じちまいそうだけどな。
That's like the second time in this story that we've had the idea floated that's like, oh, it might have been an adult dressed up as Beatrice to try to just confuse Maria and get whatever they want. Though in Maria's case, just seeing the dress would probably convince her that it really was Beatrice.
誰が渡したかなんてどうでもいい問題かもしれないな。
Maybe it doesn't really matter who handed her that letter.
大事なのは差出人だろ。
The important thing is who sent it.
要はじいさまが黄金の魔女の名を語って一波乱を起こしたかったってことなんだぜ。
The point is that grandfather wanted to cause an uproar by assuming the name of the witch.
まったく人騒がせなじじいだぜ。
Seriously, that old geezer's good at riling people up. The most likely answer is that our occult-loving grandfather was playing around, handing the letter over to Maria, who shares the same hobby as he does in such a dramatic way. Though, he failed to give any thought for what Maria would have to go through, making it a pretty shitty thing to do.
たくマリアの純真な心をもてあそびやがって。
Seriously, messing around with Maria's pure heart?
手紙を渡したのが誰でもいいさ。
It doesn't matter who handed the letter over.
マリアがベアトリーチェにもらったって言うんだからそういうことにしてやろうぜ。
Maria says she got it from Beatrice, so let's treat it that way.
同感だよ。
I agree.
そうしよう。
Let's do that.
子供にとってのサンタクロースみたいな存在がマリアちゃんにとってはベアトリーチェなんだろうね。
To Maria-chan, Beatrice is kind of like what Santa Claus is to most kids.
いない19人目もサンタクロースも
Whether we're dealing with some non-existent 19th person or Santa Claus.
俺たちが認めてやればそれは少なくともマリアの中ではいるということになるわけだ。
As long as we all acknowledge them, they'll at least exist inside Maria. God, I wish Santa Claus was the murderer in this story. That'd be exciting.
子供の夢を守るための嘘って大事だな。
I see. Guess it can be important to lie to a child to protect their dreams.
どうしたんだよ、ジェシカ。
What's up, Jessica?
まだ腹を立ててるのかよ。
Are you still angry? Jessica had her hand on her chin, as though there was something that she just couldn't understand. When I called out to her, she came to her senses.
ああ、ごめん。
Sorry.
いやさ、
Well,
実は
actually,
マリアが会ったのは本当にベアトリーチェだったってことがあるんじゃないかな。
I was wondering if Maria might have actually met Beatrice.
そりゃどういう意味だよ。
What do you mean by that?
この島に19人目の人間がいるって言いたいのか？
Are you saying there's a 19th person on this island?
マリアちゃんの言うことを心から信じたならそういう答えに行き着くだろうね。
If you truly take Maria-chan's words to heart, then you would arrive at that answer.
いや、そういうのじゃなくて、
No, that's not what I mean.
昔からこの島には私たちの知らない誰かが住んでるんじゃないかって話はあったんだよな。
I'm talking about the story that someone we don't know has been living on this island since long ago.
住んでるってどこに？
Living, you say? Where?
森の中にさ。
In the forest. Bang. A forest person. The adults were gathered in the dining hall, spending a very long time continuing the discussion that had been started by Beatrice's letter. Kraus strongly claimed that the letter was a simple prank, but he couldn't overturn the claim that Kinzo's failure to deny the letter was answer enough. Judging by Kinzo's character, if he knew that a letter had been written in his name, he would be mad with rage. Since all the siblings knew that, Kraus had no choice but to withdraw his claim. Without even having to summarize it, the contents of the letter were simple. The person who could solve the witch's epitaph would receive the headship and assets. This did a lot of damage to Kraus, who had been sure that he would receive the headship, and was better news than the rest of them, who had already given up, could have hoped for. However, there are some points that worried them. The person who solved the epitaph was not limited to a member of the Yishiromiya family. Taken literally, anyone, no matter how doubtful their origin, might receive the headship. And furthermore, this meant there was a chance that all the Yishiromiya family's assets would be stolen by some unknown person. In that sense, it was definitely not a situation where even the other siblings could afford to lower their guard. It's almost like they should put their heads together and just solve the fucking riddle. Please. I'm impatient. I want them to solve the riddle so bad. Had this letter come from an assassin sent by Kinzo, calling themselves Beatrice? Or was this the scheme of some unknown person trying to steal the Yishiromiya family's wealth? What's the chance they solve this riddle? Solve the riddle this episode? I'm gonna say slim to none. I'm not gonna get my wish. Knowing this game, I'm gonna get the answer to the riddle like the final moment. Literally the last sentence. It'll be like middle of December. We'll be finishing Umineko, and the final sentence is gonna be the answer to the riddle somehow. And I'm gonna scream into oblivion. No, I've thought of an even worse fate. We're gonna get some way through the game. We're gonna get all the way throughout the game. And the final section of the game is going to be them being... Something's going to happen in the story, and it's going to be like, you know what? Some character is going to utter some words like this. They're going to say, you know what? The answer to the riddle doesn't matter. And then it just fades to black. And that'll be the end of the game. And then I'll scream into the oblivion. That's what I'm expecting this game to do. As a big final fuck you to me. You know? I already read that. They still didn't know the truth. But they could say one thing for certain. Maria had received this problematic letter today on this island. In other words, someone planning something to do with that letter was on this island today. Had it been set up by Kinzo, one of the 4 siblings, or maybe some unknown person? No matter how much they suspected each other, they couldn't reach a conclusion. After getting tired of bickering with each other, they finally reached the extremely obvious conclusion that doubting each other was just a waste of time. Yes, thank you. Now solve the riddle! Just do what the letter says! Please! We've made no progress. We've just been spinning our wheels.
そうね。
That's right.
兄さんが気づいてくれるだけでこれ以上を浪費しなくて済むわ。
And the mere fact that you've realized it means we won't have to waste any more time.
手紙の差出人がお父様と確定したわけではありませんよ。
It is not certain that father sent the letter.
会話の成り立たないあなたに主人が呆れ果てただけです。
My husband is merely exasperated by your inability to hold a conversation. Damn, Natsui on the offensive here. Love it.
会話が成り立たないのはどっちよ。
Who's unable to hold a conversation?
私が何か言うたびにあなたは怒鳴ってばかり。
You keep yelling at me every time I say something.
そんな無様で後ろ宮家にふさわしいと本気でお思いなのかしら。
Do you truly think that such shameful behavior is fitting for a member of the Yishiromiya family?
予算かエヴァ。
Would you give it a rest, Eva?
夏井さんも
You too, Natsui-san.
一度終わった話やで。
That topic's finished for now.
一度ここで頭を冷やさない？
Shall we all cool our heads off for now?
冷たいものでも持ってきてもらいましょうよ。
Let's have some cool drinks brought over.
そうね。
That sounds good.
頭を冷やした方が賢明そう。
It would probably be wiser if we cooled our heads.
あなたもそろそろ一服したくなってきたんじゃない？
Don't you want to take a short break too, dear?
姉貴の機嫌が悪そうだからな。
Aneki looks like she's in a bad mood,
一服の方は遠慮するぜ。
so I'll pass on that break.
だが冷たい方は賛成だ。
But I agree about the cool drinks.
ローザ、誰かに水を持ってこさせてくれ。
Rosa, have someone bring some water.
水差しごとね。
A whole pitcher.
わかったわ。
Yes, understood. Rosa headed over to the extension telephone in a corner of the room and called the servant room. She then passed on what Rudolph had told her to the person on the other end. The vicious bickering up until now vanished as though it had been a lie. That silence continued until Goda finished setting the table and retreated from the room.
他に何かご入り用のものはございますでしょうか。
Is there anything else that you require?
ありません。
No.
もう下がりなさい。
Please leave us.
はい、
Yes.
それでは失礼いたします。
Then if you'll excuse me.
何かございましたらいつでもお呼びください。
If you need anything, call me at any time. After listening to the sound of Goda's footsteps disappear off into the distance, everyone took a deep breath at the same time to break the tension.
本当にすごい雨ね。
It sure is raining hard.
19人目の魔女は今頃バラ庭園の東屋で雨宿りでもしているのかしら。
I wonder if this 19th person is taking shelter in the Rose Garden Arbor about now.
どうかしらね。
I wonder.
雨はしのげるかもしれないけど、少し肩を冷やしそうね。
They might be able to escape the rain there, but it would be quite cold.
謎の19人目の来訪者か。
A mysterious 19th person as a visitor.
ちょいと推理小説っぽくて面白い話やな。
Sounds pretty interesting, just like a mystery novel.
普通この手の話は18人の中の誰かが語ってるだけで、実際には存在せんと相場が決まっとるんや。
Normally, in that kind of story, it's a safe bet that the person doesn't exist, that one of us 18 would be faking it.
私は源氏たちが怪しいと睨んでいます。
I suspect Genji and the others.
やはりどんな難癖をつけてでも片翼のわしの使用人たちは全て解雇した方が良かったんです。
Just as I thought, it would have been better if we had dismissed all the servants of the one-winged eagle, no matter what excuses we had to make.
まあそういうの。
Come now, don't say that.
長く勤めてくれた恩もある。
We must be grateful for their long years of service. Oh man, it's like that meme where it's like, oh, the worst person you know actually said something. I forget what the meme joke is, but the worst person you know says something you agree with or something along those lines, whatever. I ruined the joke, don't worry about it.
気は許せんね。
Of course, we can't let our guard down.
兄さんもお父様の仕業かどうかはともかく、
I'm sure you agree too, Nissan, that whether or not father was behind this.
あの手紙をマリアちゃんに渡したのは使用人の誰かだろうという点では同意するのね。
The person who handed Maria the letter was a servant. Indeed.
何しろ私たちは夕食までずっと仲良く団らんをしていたじゃないか。
In any event, we were all being friendly in our big happy circle until dinner, weren't we?
兄弟全員にアリバイがある。
All of the siblings have alibis.
マリアに手紙を渡せたのは使用人の誰かだけだ。
Only a servant could have handed Maria that letter.
でも使用人の人たちもみんな
But all the servants...
ベッドメイクとかで忙しくて、バラ庭園のマリアのところへ行く余裕なんかなかったって言ってたし。
Said that they were too busy with the bed making to have any spare time during which they could go to Maria-chan in the Rose Garden.
おいおい、じゃあ何だってんだよ。
Hey, hey, what are you trying to say then?
まさか森の魔女ベアトリーチェ様がお越しになって本当にマリアちゃんに手紙を渡したって言い出すのか？
You aren't saying that the Witch of the Forest, Beatrice-sama, came over and actually handed Maria that letter, are you?
ローザ、昔は信じててすごい怖がってたものね。
Rosa, you used to believe in that so much, it really frightened you, right?
あんたまさかいい年してまだ信じてるの？
Don't tell me you still believe at this age.
森の魔女。
In the Witch of the Forest? If she did exist, I'd love for her to appear. But no matter how much I wished, she didn't appear before me even once. She didn't save me from my crisis.
まさか。
Of course not.
でも18人全員が自分は違うと言っている以上、本当に19人目がいるのかもって思っただけなの。
I just thought that since all 18 of us said we didn't do it, there might really be a 19th person.
そんなんあらへんで。第一、船で来たのはわしらだけや。
That can't be. In the first place, we were the only ones who came in on that boat.
謎の乗船者なんぞ、わしらは姿も見とらん。
We didn't see any mysterious stranger riding with us.
まさかこの荒海を泳いで渡ってきたっちゅうんか？
You don't think they could have swam across this rough sea, right?
ちょいと考えられへんな。
I can't really imagine it. Oh, it's so funny!
理屈ではそうね。
Logically, that's true.
この隔絶された島に招かれていない客が一人隠れているというのは
It is-
常識的に考えがたいんだけれど、
It is difficult to imagine that there's a single hidden and uninvited guest on this isolated island.
でも
However,
どうもその可能性を捨てきれない人たちがいるみたいね。
it looks like some of us still can't abandon the possibility completely, right? Hideyoshi had laughed it off, saying there couldn't be a 19th person, but Kairi had sensitively picked up on the delicate atmosphere among the four siblings. In a normal situation, there shouldn't have been any uninvited guests on this small, isolated island. How would they have come here, and from where? And where were they hiding? And why hadn't they appeared openly, even though they had sent a letter in their name? Nothing could explain that. But not only had the four siblings not joined in on Hideyoshi's laughing, they also seemed unable to completely deny in their hearts the possibility of a 19th person.
キリエさん、
Kairi-san,
誤解しないでいただきたいが、別に私たちはおとぎ話じみた魔女伝説などこれっぱかりも信じちゃいないさ。
please don't misunderstand. It's not as though we believe in anything like that fairy tale-like legend of the witch.
またお父様を侮辱する話ですか？
Is this another topic to insult father?
それを口にすること自体がお父様への裏切りです。
Simply speaking of such a thing as a betrayal against him.
まあね。
I wonder.
でもあのお父様ですもの。
However, this is father we're talking about.
あるいは本当に。ねえ。
It could be possible, right?
私は何も知らないわ。
I don't know anything.
なんやなん
Good job,
や。
Rosa. What's this? What's this?
何を見学になっとるんや。
Why has everyone gotten so gloomy?
どういうことや。
What are you talking about?
つまり魔女伝説は笑い話でも何でもなく事実だっちゅうんか？
In short, the legend of the witch isn't a joke, but a fact?
そんなアホな。
That's ridiculous.
もちろんほうきにまたがって空を飛ぶ魔女なんて誰も信じちゃいないさ。
Of course, Nobody believes in some witch riding a broom and flying in the sky.
だが、あの肖像画の女、
But the woman in that portrait?
ベアトリーチェは本当にこの島に存在したかもしれない。
Beatrice might really have existed on this island.
秀吉さん、
Hideyoshi-san.
魔女とかの話じゃなくて、もっとシンプルな話みたいよ。
It looks like we aren't talking about a witch, but something a little simpler.
つまりこういうことね。
So, it must be something like this.
ベアトリーチェという名の愛人をお父さんがこの島のどこかに隠れ住まわせていたのではないかとみんなは疑っている。
Everyone suspects that father had a mistress named Beatrice secretly living somewhere on this island.
そういうことかしら。
Is that it?
お父様は自己を厳しく律する模範的な方です。
Father was always exemplary at keeping strictly to the rules.
そのような汚らわしい存在を島に連れ込むなど到底考えられません。
It is completely inconceivable that that he would bring something so filthy onto this island. This has probably been said by me or others at this point in this game, at least a few times or whatever. But it's honestly it's somewhat interesting just how willing to bat for Kinzo Natsui is. Like, she refers to him as father. She's not technically related to him. She's not related to Kinzo by blood or anything. And she is such a fierce defender of him. And I get that that's probably because she knows her husband is, like, according to old rules, would have been the one to inherit the headship after Kinzo. But man, she just bats for Kinzo so hard. Oh, I'm not saying it's just I'm not saying that it's just exclusively her that calls him father and stuff. I'm not just saying it's just her. And I wasn't even bringing up necessarily the fact that she calls him father as a reason for it or anything. But I'm just saying, like, it is very interesting, but completely understandable based on how she previously thought, where she was like, oh, we just kind of like how you were saying, like, we can't talk shit about Kinzo. How dare we question his morality or his ethics or anything? When, like, when it's just so painfully obvious she's only doing that just so that the status quo is maintained. We bring some filthy onto this island, yes. Natsui snapped at them immediately, but it looked like the four siblings, including Kraus, didn't agree. On the contrary, they appeared to think Kinzo wouldn't even have hesitated to do something like that. They really know. From the beginning, it had been whispered that Kinzo had built a mansion on this island specifically because of the existence of an entrancing mistress. I'm sorry, Natsui-san. I know how much you respect Dad, but that rumor's been around for a long time. All the buildings on Rokkenjima were built by Dad on his own. People have always guessed he had some contraption or secret room set up in this mansion that only he knew about. And it's always been whispered that hidden somewhere on this island there's a secret mansion none of us know about. I'm sure it's more than that, but differently from everyone else, Natsui values honesty. Yeah, I could see that being the case. She just puts those kind of things more on the scale of importance. Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. I see.
地図上は小さな島かもしれないけれど、後ろ宮家だけが住むには広大すぎる島だわ。
Also, I mean, again, this is just a small thing to explain it all, but unless I'm getting her confused, her backstory with another someone who got married into the family, but wasn't the whole thing with Natsui about like how like she had to basically discard her actual blood relatives or blood family to like essentially be a part of this family? So like of course she's gonna be like, well, yeah, I can't talk shit about this Kinzo guy because I treat this as kind of like my family because of just how easily I discarded my actual family. Let's see. Kairi says, I see. This island might look small on a map, but it's quite large for just the Ishiramiya family to live on.
そして未開の森のどこかに愛人を住まわせるための隠し屋敷を作ったかもしれないとそう思われてたのね。
So people have suspected that he built a secret mansion somewhere in the uncivilized forest for his mistress to live in.
ずいぶんスケールの大きな話ね。
That would be quite a large-scale scheme.
最初はそれはこの屋敷の中じゃないかと言われてた。
In the beginning, people thought it might be somewhere inside this mansion.
秘密の地下とかがあったりして、そこに豪華な隠し部屋があり、あの肖像画の魔女が隠れ住んでるんじゃないかとか。
That there might be a hidden basement with a fabulous hidden room where the witch in that portrait was secretly hiding.
親父の主催の凝ったオートロックの仕掛けとかを見てると、それも納得できる。
Could not hear him over the drum beats there. After seeing that intricate auto lock on Dad's study, it isn't too hard to imagine, right?
何しろ莫大な黄金をどこか秘密の場所に秘密の仕掛けで隠したと吹聴する親父殿だ。
After all, Father did spread the rumor that a large amount of gold was hidden somewhere by some mechanism.
この屋敷とてまだ我々の知らぬ隠し部屋があったとしても驚くには足りんね。
I wouldn't be surprised if there existed some hidden room inside this very mansion that none of us know about yet.
お母様は存命中。よくお父様の不在をついて屋敷内をしらみつぶしに探し回ってたわね。
When Mother was alive, she would often scour the entire mansion searching for Father when he wasn't anywhere to be found.
ルドルフが言ったことをお母様も疑ってたのよ。
Mother also suspected what Rudolph just said.
どこかに秘密の扉や階段があって、その中に金髪の愛人が隠れていると信じていたわ。
She believed there was a hidden door or stairway somewhere, and that his blonde-haired mistress was hidden behind it. It's hard to believe, but there are some actual examples in other countries of people cheating with someone over a period of several decades by making them live in a hidden attic room. Furthermore, Kinzo had a mansion this extravagant. It was possible to suspect the existence of a hidden room.
六軒島の魔女伝説って
From what I've heard,
私の聞いてた話では子供たちが未開の森に入り込まないようにって言って作った怖がらせるためのおとぎ話だったんだけど
the legend of the Rokenjima witch was just a fairy tale made up to scare children away from the uncivilized forest.
なんだかそれだけじゃないって気がしてきたわ
But it's starting to sound like there's a little more to the story. Well,
何しろ後ろ宮の屋敷以外に何もない寂しい島だからな。
as you know, this is a lonely island without anything but the Ishiramiya mansion on it.
俺やローザがガキの頃はそりゃ雷雨の夜に森から聞こえてくる木々のざわめきに怯えたもんさ。
When Rose and I were little brats, on stormy nights, we got so scared by the sound of trees rustling in the direction of the forest.
その木々の間から不気味な何かが様子を伺ってるんじゃないかなんて妄想。
We had this crazy delusion that something weird might be looking out at us from between those trees.
ガキだったら誰でも考える自然なものさ。
It's only natural for a brat to think of stuff like that.
だが俺やローザがそう訴えるのを聞いてガキの妄想だろでは済まさない連中もいたってことなんだろうね。
But when Rose and I complained about it, some people figured it was more than a brat's imagination.
そうだろ姉貴。
Isn't that right, Ineki?
ええ。
Yeah.
私や兄さんはこの島に隠れ住んでいる愛人が人目を忍んで出歩いていたのを偶然あんたたちが目撃したのではないかと考えていたわ。
Nissan and I thought you might have coincidentally spotted Father's mistress living in secrecy on the island as she went out for a walk when no one was looking.
もちろんお母様もね。
Of course, Mother felt the same.
古い使用人たちの中にも深夜の屋敷内に肖像画の魔女が徘徊しているというような怪談が語られていた。
Even among the older servants, you often heard that ghost story about how the witch of the portrait wanders the mansion at midnight.
私はそれを表向き怪談として笑い捨てていたが、内心は秘密の愛人の存在を十分に疑っていたよ。
Outwardly, I laughed it off as just a ghost story, but on the inside, I suspected very much that it hinted at the existence of a hidden mistress.
となると、この島に19人目の何者かがいるかもしれないってのは。
In that case, you're saying that the existence of a 19th person
全くバカバカしい話でもないっちゅうことなんか。
might not be completely ridiculous?
いや、むしろどこかにいるかもしれないわけか。
That they might actually be somewhere around here?
よくルドルフさんの言う悪魔の証明というやつになったわね。
Sounds like one of those devil's proofs Rudolph's always been talking about.
19人目がいることは証明可能だけれど、19人目が存在しないことは証明不能。
It might be possible to prove that there is a 19th person, but it's impossible to prove that a 19th person doesn't exist.
私たちはベアトリーチェという名の人物が島のどこかに潜んでいることを前提に議論を進めるべきなの？
Should we continue this discussion under the assumption that there's a person named Beatrice hiding somewhere on this island?
危機管理の基本としては正しいな。
That's a good plan, from the perspective of risk management.
いるわけがないと思うよりは、いるかもしれないと用心する方がはるかにマシだろう。
It's probably much more prudent to say she might exist rather than saying she couldn't exist.
そうやな。
I see.
すまん。ちょいと不用心が過ぎたわ。
Sorry, I was a bit careless.
ローザさん、さっきは笑ってすまんかったな。
Rosa-san, sorry for laughing just now. Yeah, you better, Hideyoshi.
別に気にしてないです。
Huh? It's fine. I don't mind. Hideyoshi apologized deeply for taking the worst case scenario lightly, despite calling himself the president of a company. Silence fell again. Preparing for the existence of a 19th person would mean, in effect, acknowledging the presence of some unknown person hidden on this island. And since this person might be planning something shady, it was only natural that the conversation would turn in an ominous direction.
親父殿はかつて不意に所在を知らせずに姿を消すことがあった。
In the past, Father would sometimes suddenly disappear without telling anyone where he went.
何しろ静寂を好むお人だからな。
After all, he's a man who values silence.
わざと所在を知らせずどこかの書庫に閉じこもっているなどということは別に不思議なことではなかったよ。
It wouldn't have been out of the ordinary for him to shut himself up in some library room after purposely not telling anyone where he was going.
しかし魔女伝説が愛人説にすり替わり、やがてそれはこっそり愛人のもとへ通っているのではないかと囁かれるようになった。
However, when the witch theory was slowly refined into the theory about his mistress, people eventually whispered that he was secretly going back and forth to see her.
末期のお袋は疑心暗鬼の塊だったからな。
Mom was totally paranoid in her last years.
突然大騒ぎして使用人たちに緊急事態だから今すぐ親父を探せなんて騒ぎ始めることがあったっけ。
She'd sometimes suddenly start making a fuss, asking the servants to start looking for Dad immediately because of some urgent situation.
あったわね。
Yes, that did happen sometimes.
晩年のお母様はそんなことばかりだったから、未だにその怖い雰囲気が拭えないわ。
Mother was always doing things like that in her later years, and that frightening atmosphere still hasn't gone away.
今だから言える。
I can say it for certain now.
かわいそうな人だったわ。
She was a person to be pitied.
それでその大々的な家探しの結果どうだったんや。
So then, What happened with those large-scale searches of the house?
何か見つかったか？
Did they find anything?
いいえ、
No.
隠し部屋はおろか、一度たりともお父様が発見されたことはないわ。
Father wasn't caught foolishly in a hidden room even once.
そしていつも、それからだいぶ時間が経ってからひょっこりとどこからか姿を現すの。
Always, after a long time had passed, he would suddenly show up somewhere.
どこかの書庫で昼寝していたとか、風に誘われて浜辺を散歩していたとか、なんとか言ってね。
Then he'd say that he'd taken a nap in some library room, or that the wind had summoned him to take a walk on the beach. Oh, he's just like me, for real, for real.
でも、それらの場
I
所
too
は
like to nap,
いずれも使用人たちが必ず探して
and
い
will
る場
disappear
所。
for hours. But it was always some place where the servants had already looked.
お父様がどこに行っていたのかはいつもわからなかった。
We never knew where father had gone.
当時からお父様はオカルトに傾倒していることが有名だったから。
Even at that time, grandfather was famous for his occult inclinations.
一部の使用人たちは蝶にでも化けてバラ庭園を待っていたのだろうなんて嘘吹いていたっけ。
So some of the servants exaggerated, saying that he might have turned into butterflies and danced around the rose garden.
つまり、お父さんは
Butterflies.
誰も知らないどこかへ姿を消すことが頻繁にあったのね。
So in short, father frequently disappeared, and no one knew where he went.
ああ、
Yeah.
どんなに屋敷中を探しても見つからないんだから、親父は屋敷の外へ行っているのだろうという見解になった。
Since we couldn't find him no matter how much we looked inside the mansion, we got more and more sure that dad might have been somewhere outside.
だが、屋敷の外ったってそれほど大した場所はない。
But the area outside the mansion isn't large at all,
となると残るのは広大な森だ。
which leaves only the forest.
それで森の魔女伝説と融合してできた仮説はこうだった。
And if you tie that in with the legend of the witch, you get a theory like this.
親父は実は森のどこかに隠し屋敷を作っていて、
Father actually built a hidden mansion somewhere in the forest,
そこにベアトリーチェという名の愛人を住まわせていて、時折通っているんじゃないかってわけだ。
inside of which a mistress by the name of Beatrice lived, and he sometimes went to see her.
私も当時は若くてね。
I was also young at the time.
親父殿の浮気の現場を抑えてやろうと意気込み、表へ出る親父の後をつけようとしたこともある。
I was so eager to find where father was having his affair that, at one time, I followed him where he went outside, when he went outside.
もちろん失敗したよ。
Of course, it was a failure.
親父は表へ出るとき、異様に人目を嫌い、誰かに見られてないか警戒していた。
Every time father went out, he was oddly intent on avoiding places where he might be seen, and was extremely careful to prevent anyone from spotting him.
それこそ異常なくらいだね。
And he was extraordinarily earnest in his attempts to do so.
だから逆に確信したよ。
But that actually made me sure.
家人に知られてはならぬ理由で出かけているに違いないとね。
He must have been going out for some reason that the members of his family couldn't know about.
そら愛人のところへ出かけるんや。
And that'd be going to meet his mistress.
人目も忍ぶやろな。
Probably trying to avoid being seen. I was gonna say, man, Natsui's being real quiet right about now. We haven't heard from Natsui. She hasn't been piping up during all this. After seeing Hideyoshi nod and say yes, yes, as though this was quite obvious, Eva got a little sullen.
まあとにかく
Natsui's being real quiet right about now. Well, anyway.
西洋かぶれのお父様が自分の夢をまるでスケッチブックに描くみたいに実現したのがこの島なのよ。
This island was like a sketchbook in which father, with his Western obsession, could draw out all of his dreams.
すべてがお父様の思い通りの島。
Everything about this island was exactly how father wanted it.
愛人を住まわせる隠し屋敷があっても何の不思議もない。
It wouldn't be odd at all if there was a hidden mansion somewhere for his mistress to live in. Eva's words spoke for what all the siblings had come to think. For a while, the room returned to silence again, and everyone listened to the sound of the wind and rain. Was there a hidden mansion on this island? And had Kinzo's mistress been living there in hiding for a long, long time? Everyone thought they were being too suspicious, and they hesitated for a long time without speaking. But everyone shared a common opinion. Kairi, who had been listening the whole time with her eyes closed, spoke to no one in particular.
そのお父様の愛人の噂はいつ頃から？
How long has this rumor about father's mistress been around?
この島に引っ越してきた当初からだから、あれこれ30年くらい前だな。
As soon as we moved to this island, about 30 years ago.
何しろ隠し屋敷の工事なんて、俺たちが島に来ちまったら無理だろ。
After all, probably it would have been impossible for him to have a hidden mansion built while we were here.
人とか機材の出入りがあるもんな。
People and materials would have to be going in and out.
すぐにバレちまうさ。
It would have been exposed quickly.
だから、可能だとしたら、俺たちが引っ越してくる以前。
So, if it was possible, it happened before we moved here.
多分、俺たちがまだ小田原に住んでいた頃に、この屋敷の工事と一緒に済ましていたんだろうね。
It probably could have been built along with this mansion when we were still living in Otawara.
お父様は家族生活と愛人との生活の2つを両立させようと最初から想定していたと考えるのが妥当なんでしょうね。
Since father had set up a double life with his family and his mistress, it's probably reasonable to assume that he had it all planned from the beginning.
多分愛人との関係は小田原時代にまで遡るでしょうし。
And his relationship with that mistress probably went back to the days when we lived in Otawara.
だろう。
Probably.
親父殿が言うように、後ろ宮家復興の軍資金となった莫大な黄金が彼女によってもたらされたとするなら。
If, as father says, she is the source of the vast amount of gold he used to gain the funds that resurrected the Ishimiya family,
小田原時代にはもう信仰があったと見るべきだろう。
we could probably conclude that they had a close relationship since Otawara.
莫大な黄金を貸し付けられるだけの信頼関係だ。
A relationship trusting enough for her to lend him a vast quantity of gold.
どれほどの古い縁か想像もつかんね。
I can't even imagine how old that relationship must have been.
おそらくお父様が事業で成功する上で何か貴重な助言をしてくれたのでしょう。
Perhaps father gave her some kind of valuable advice for succeeding in business.
それに恩を感じ、その人物が黄金を与えてくれたというような言い方をしたと考えるのが自然です。
It's natural to think that out of a sense of gratitude for that, this person gave father the gold.
そうと考えれば、その後も信仰があったのは当然でしょう。
If you think about it that way, it's obvious that they would have a close relationship after that.
それはおそらく愛人というただれた関係ではなく、後宮家の危機を救った恩人としてに違いありません。
Rather than a festering relationship with a mistress, it was probably a relationship of gratitude to the person who served the Ishimiya family from its crisis, who saved Ishimiya. Sure, Natsu, you keep telling yourself that.
夏樹さんの言うのも一理あるかもわからんな。
I don't know if what Natsui-san's saying has a ring of truth to it or not.
だが仮にそうでも隠し屋敷を作って住まわせるってのはちょいと行き過ぎた話やろな。
But even in that case, isn't building a hidden mansion and having her live in it going a bit too far?
恩だけでは計れん感情があったんとちゃうか。
Oh, it's extreme copium. Doesn't that mean they felt something a bit more than gratitude?
まあ全ては憶測だ。
Hey, I respect Natsui for being so dedicated to the cause, though, of making Kinzo not seem like a bad person in all aspects. Well, this is all just speculation.
第一、その隠し屋敷は誰も見つけたことがね。
Oh, excuse me. In the first place, no one's ever found that hidden mansion.
兄貴はこの島をリゾート開発する気なんだろう。
Aniki, you were planning on expanding this island to a resort, right?
その際にひょっこり見つかるかもしれねえぜ。
As you were doing that, you didn't manage to stumble on it by chance, did you?
案外そこに黄金もあった たりするかもね。
Maybe you even bumped into some gold there too?
お前は六軒島を宝島か何かだとでも思っているのかね。
Do you think Rokenjima is Treasure Island or something?
とぼけないでよ。
Don't play dumb.
兄さんがリゾート開発と称して島の全域調査を計上しようとしてたのを知ってるのよ。
We know that, although you say you're opening a resort, you have really been planning to investigate the entire island, right?
例のトラブルのごたごたでできなくなっちゃったそうだけどね。
Judging by all that trouble and confusion we were talking about earlier, you haven't been very successful, have you?
なんだか知らんが誤解だな。
I don't know what you're talking about, but it's a misunderstanding.
島の調査はリゾート化の第一段階として極めて当然のことだ。
Isn't it perfectly natural that investigating this island would be the first step in turning it into a resort? Crouch tried to play dumb, but it was plainly obvious to his siblings, who knew him so well. Crouch was definitely sure of the existence of a hidden mansion, and under the pretense of opening a resort, he had been closely investigating the island, searching for a clue as to the location of the hidden gold. I couldn't tell whether that conviction was just him overthinking things, or whether it was based on some physical proof. Still, Kraus, with all of his guile, was sure. That was enough proof for the other siblings to be sure too.
森に魔女が住んでるっちゅうのはそのまんまおとぎ話やが。
The story about a witch living in a forest is obviously a fairy tale.
森の中に誰も知らない屋敷があって、金髪の姉ちゃんがひっそり隠れ住んどるっちゅうのも十分おとぎ話やな。
But the story about some blonde-haired girl living secretly in a mansion no one knows about in the middle of the forest isn't much better.
そうね。
That's right.
シチュエーションだけだったらまるで童話か何かみたいね。
That really would be just like a fairy tale.
ローザ、そういうの好きでしょ。
You like those, don't you, Rosa?
まあね。
Huh? Well...
この島に屋敷を建てた頃は親父殿の特に全盛期だ。
When the mansion was built on this island, Father was at the height of his prosperity.
金に物を言わせてどんな妄想も実現しただろう。
With his money, he could probably obtain anything, make any of his wild imaginings real.
森の中にひっそり佇む魔女の屋敷。
A mansion in the forest where a witch quietly waits.
親父の好きそうなシチュエーションだ。
It sounds like the kind of situation Father would like.
だね。
Doesn't it?
オカルトチックというか、メルヘンチックというか。
Like something from the occult or a fairy tale.
親父の趣味って気がするぜ。
Feels like Dad's kind of hobby. On this island, on which the Yashiromiya family had lived for 30 years now, a hidden mansion that no one knew about had been quietly built to house a witch, about whom nothing was known except that could be guessed from a portrait. Even this hastily thrown together theory might not be completely delusional, considering all of Kinzo's strange habits and his vast wealth.
お父さんがそういう夢を思い描いて隠し屋敷を建てることは不可能じゃないかもしれない。
It might not have been impossible for Father to build a hidden mansion to satisfy his dreams.
でも現実的な話、
However, let's be realistic.
その隠し屋敷に愛する女性を不自由なく何十年にもわたって住まわせることなんて可能なのかしら。
Would it be possible to house his beloved woman in that hidden mansion for decades without it becoming inconvenient?
さ
Well,
あ、愛さえあれば可能なんじゃない？
if there was love, it could have been doable, right?
愛する女性が健やかに過ごせるような設備を。
Think of the facilities needed to let his beloved woman live healthfully.
それもお父さんなりのね。
Healthily. And in a way that would satisfy Father.
それはたとえ規模が小さかったとしても趣向を凝らした快適な邸宅に違いない。
For example, even if it was on a small scale, it would have to be an intricate and pleasant residence.
そしてそれを維持するには
And it would probably need to have
電気、
electricity,
ガス、
gas,
水道、
and running water maintained.
あるいは身の回りの世話に人間も必要かもしれない。
As well as some people to see to her needs.
食事の世話だって大変でしょうね。
Even cooking would be quite difficult.
衣服や化粧品、日用品。
She would need clothes and makeup, the daily necessities.
女の身の回りは簡単じゃないわ。
The needs of a woman aren't simple.
それだけのものを家人にも使用人にも悟らせずに維持することって可能なのかしら。
Would it be possible to maintain all that without any of the family or the servants noticing?
そこまで言われると確かに弱いね。
When you say it that way, sure sounds like a weak point in our theory.
だがそれでも親父ならやってのけるかもしれんという気持ちは残る。
But that isn't enough to get rid of my feeling that Dad might have been able to do it anyway.
何しろあの親父だからな。
After all, it's Dad we're talking about.
そうね。
That's right.
あのお父様だものね。
It's our father.
お父様はやり遂げることは何があってもやり遂げます。
If father wanted to succeed in an endeavor, he would succeed no matter what. Even if it meant being an asshole, apparently. It's impossible, but it's Kinzo, so...
常人には難しいから無理だろうという理由は、お父様に関してだけは当てはまらないでしょう。
They basically, the way they talk of Kinzo is basically the phrase, if there's a will, there's a way. It's like, oh, well, if Kinzo wanted it to be, then so it should be. Saying that something would be difficult for a normal person, therefore impossible, doesn't apply when it comes to father. Indeed.
親父殿に関してだけは見くびらん方がいい。
You should never underestimate father.
親父の狂気は常人の思考では理解にも及ばん。
Father's madness can't be understood by normal people. I wouldn't put it past that Kinzo. As long as you stick... I wouldn't put it past that Kinzo, okay? As long as you stick to this phrase, a considerable amount of credibility can dwell in any absurd story. However, that didn't cause the importance of what Kairi had said to waver. This was different from stealthily raising a kitten in a cardboard box and keeping it a secret from your parents. Taking care of a person in secret over a period of 30 years would be an incalculably massive task.
お父さんの黄金伝説は独権島を取得する前からや。
After all, Father's legend of the gold started before he gained possession of Rokenjima.
となると、その愛人との縁は30年以上ということになるな。
That would mean his relationship with his mistress was over 30 years long.
ってことは今いくつなんや。
How old would that make her?
下手をしたらわしらと同じかそれ以上の年齢とちゃうか。
In the worst case, she could be as old as us or older, right?
体にもボロが出る年頃のはずや。
By that age, the body starts to break down.
どんな屋敷か知らんが、人目に触れんようなほとんど軟禁に近い生活はそう快適とは言えんやろな。
I don't care what the mansion's like. I wouldn't use the word agreeable to describe living in a place where people's eyes can't reach, almost like she was under house arrest.
そうね。
That's right.
お父様が語るベアトリーチェについての話が正しいなら、その縁は30年以上。
If what father told us about Beatrice is true, then that relationship has lasted for over 30 years.
当時は魅惑的な若い女性だったかもしれないけど、今は私たちと同格のタフな食えない女と考えるのが妥当でしょうね。
She might have been a charming young woman at the time, but it probably makes sense to assume she's an old bag like us now.
手紙の内容からも、それは容易に想像できるわ。
I can easily imagine that, given the contents of that letter.
お前が言うか。
You should talk. Got her. Kraus laughed as if none of this applied to him. Of course, Eva was offended, but she didn't strike back.
よせよ兄貴。
Quit it, Aniki.
そして俺たちの想像が本当なら、親父の遺産問題に彼女は胸を張って参加したいはずなんだ。
So if everything we're thinking's true, then she should be joining in on Dad's inheritance problem with her head held high.
何しろ、お袋と違い、相思相愛だった可能性が高いからな。
After all, There's a good chance their love was mutual, unlike with Mom.
本人には愛人の自覚と同時に正妻としての誇りもあるかもしれない。
Even if she knows she's his mistress, she might also be proud to be his true wife.
それはお母様への侮辱にあたりますよ。
That is an insult to mother.
ああ、すまん。
Yeah, sorry.
だが親父とおふくろが親戚の長老たちによる政略結婚だったことは誰もが知ってる。
Man, Natsui just loves playing defense for everyone, even of the dead. However, everyone knows that it was a political marriage decided on by the elders among his relatives.
だからこそ親父に愛人がいてもおかしくないと確信できるわけだがね。
Because of that, it definitely wouldn't be strange for Dad to have a mistress. The family sank after the Great Kanto earthquake, and Father was set up as the Ushiromiya family head against his will. However, in the beginning, the elder relatives treated Kinzo like a dummy and influenced him powerfully, almost like he was a puppet. He wasn't permitted to decide anything by himself, not even his marriage partner. Ever since he met that Golden Witch Beatrice in those distant days, Kinzo's legend of the gold was quickly embellished into something dramatic. In other words, it could mean that Kinzo really did find a woman he loved. But she also knew the whole story. Even if they weren't marriage partners, it wouldn't have been odd for her to consider herself his true wife inside her heart. And now, the person registered as his true wife was already dead.
となると財産権どころか家督争いにも食い込む気満々ってことになるで。
Which means she might feel confident staking her claim, not just for the rights of his assets, but regarding the battle over the headship too.
なるほどな。
I see.
この手紙の趣旨が少しだけ見えてきたよ。
I'm starting to see the purpose of this letter.
碑文の謎を解く者に家督を。
The headship goes to the one who solves the riddle of the epitaph.
そういう意味か。
Is that what it means?
仮にその愛人が後宮家に序列を得ていたとしても、その序列はお父様の血を直接引かない以上子供に劣る。
Even if that mistress was added into the family ranking system, she isn't a direct relative of father, so she'd be inferior even to the children.
つまり序列はローザより一つ下ね。
In other words, she'd be one step below Rosa in rank.
とても家督争いに加われるようなレベルじゃないわ。
That wouldn't be a good position to enter the battle for the headship from.
そういうことか。
I see. So that's it.
魔女の碑文を解けば序列に関係なく家督が告げる。
If someone can solve the witch's riddle, they'll get the headship regardless of rank.
つまり全く可能性のないベアトリーチェにとって最も有利な条件ってわけだ。
In other words, it's the most advantageous condition Beatrice could possibly get, since she's got no chance otherwise. The revival of the Ushiromiya family was made possible by the gold Beatrice had bestowed. It was quite a distinguishing service she had provided. She had built that wealth together with Kinzo, so it was natural that she would think of herself as the one who should inherit it. It would also be natural for her to despise the thought of giving it up to the children of the wife Kinzo never loved.
ずうつうしいにも程があります。
How could she be so impotent?
仮に愛人が実在したとしても、当主継承権を争うなど身の程をわきまえぬ暴挙です。
Even if such a mistress actually exists, joining in on the battle for the rights of the head's inheritance would be a reckless action far above her place.
なんという身の程知らず。
What disregard for her own position. Natsui turned red, her fist quivering. Oh, she's pissed. She had also come into the Ushiromiya register due to complicated circumstances. Those who knew that understood more or less why she was so angry for the sake of Kinzo's dead wife.
まあ、その暴挙のおかげで私たちにも公平にチャンスがあるわけなんだけどね。
Well, thanks to that reckless action of hers, we all have an even chance now, right?
それにお父様はこの暴挙を黙認されている。
Father has even given it his silent approval.
後宮家を継ぐのは愛人ベアトリーチェか、愛はなくとも血を受け継ぐ私たちか。
Will the person who succeeds the Ishiromia family be his mistress Beatrice, or one of us, the relatives he doesn't love?
それを争わせて確かめたいというのでしょうね。
Maybe he wants to make us struggle over that to see who's worthy. As Eva giggled roguishly, Kraus shrugged his shoulders and looked away.
でもその条件を向こうが出してきたということは
However, since she's the one who brought this rule to light in the first
向
place,
こうは十分な勝算があるということじゃないのかしら。
maybe that means it gives her a significant advantage.
それもそうや。
That's right.
第一、ベアトリーチェはあの手紙の文面通りなら、お父さんの顧問錬金術師。
In the first place, if Beatrice meant that letter literally, then she's father's alchemist.
つまり、黄金の管理者や。
In other words, she's the manager of his gold.
その隠し場所を知っていても、何の不思議もないやないか。
It wouldn't be strange at all if she knew there was where it was hidden, would it?
こら、ひどい話やで。
Isn't that harsh?
答えを知っている謎々を出してきたも同じや。
It's like she's giving us a riddle she knows the answer to.
これでシャーシャーと現れて、これが答えや。家督はいただきやで、なんて言われたら。
She'll probably show up rudely, say, hey, here's the answer, I'll take the headship now.
わしらすべてかっぱらわれちまうわ。
And snatch everything away from us.
そうね。
That's right.
謎々の出題者は常に正解を知っているものよ。
The person who brings up a riddle always knows the answer.
これは私たちから全てを奪うために作られた罠の可能性が高いわ。
There's a good chance that this is all a trap to steal everything from us.
そこまで考えると、そもそも彼女が本当に黄金を持っているかどうかは怪しいと思わんかね。
If you think about it like that, don't you start to doubt whether she really had any gold in the first place?
なぜ我々にその存在を教える？
Why would she tell us about it?
黙って着服すればよいもの。
All she has to do is keep quiet and embezzle it.
確かに
It really is
おかしな話だ。
strange. That certainly was the case. If the epitaphs showed the way to the hidden gold, why would she challenge them to try and solve it? If they actually did solve it, wouldn't the gold all be stolen from her? Could it be that this person was trying to stir the siblings up so they'd solve the epitaph, and then plan to steal it away at the last second? It was an extremely logical possibility.
いいえ、
No.
チェス盤をひっくり返して考えれば黄金を実際に持っている可能性は低くないかもしれない。
If you spin the chessboard around, TM, there might be a pretty good chance that they actually do have the gold. Spin!
どうしてそんなことが断言できるのよ。
Why are you so certain?
待て姉貴。
Spin. Wait, Ineki.
キリエ、続きを話してくれ。
Kyrie, please keep talking. I say the same thing. Kyrie, please keep talking. Don't die.
どうしてそう思うんだ？
Why do you think that?
だって私たちは魔女の碑文なんていう謎々の答えを教えられたくらいで。
After all, do they really think we'll let go of the Ishirmiya family headship?
本気で後ろ宮家の家督を明け渡す気？
Just because someone tells us the answer to the riddle in the witch's epitaph?
謎々の答えに感服して降参を？
That will be so impressed by their answer that will just give up?
そらまあ。
Well,
それもそうやな。
that's true.
謎々の答えを教えられたくらいで、わしらがあっさり降参して。
No way they're so naive that they assumed we'd just give up after being told the answer to a riddle.
家督をはいどうぞと渡すかっちゅうたら、そら甘い話やな。
That we just say, here you go, and hand it over.
当然です。
Of course.
後ろ宮家の家督をそんな程度のことで譲ることがあるわけがない。
The headship of the Ishirmiya family is not something that can be handed over so easily.
そういうことよ。
That's it exactly.
いくらベアトリーチェが一方的にこんなゲームを提案しても、そして見事その答えを示してみせたとしても、
No matter how Beatrice might one-sidedly propose a game like this, even if she were to spectacularly show us the answer,
私たちは家督を素直に譲るわけもない。
there's no way we'd obediently hand over the headship.
つまり私たちがこのゲームに対等な条件で挑まなくてはならないという強制力がない限り。
In other words, unless she has a compelling force in the form of challenging us to a game with equal conditions for us all,
このゲームは成立しないのよ。
this won't truly count as a game.
そうだな。
You're right.
負けた時、家督を譲ることに強制力を持たせなきゃこのゲームは成立しない。
Unless the losers have no choice but to give up on the headship. Because of a compelling force, this won't really count as a game.
その強制力というのはどういう意味だね。
And what might this compelling force be?
我々を鎖で縛って家督を譲るよう脅迫でもしようというのかね。
Would they bind us in chains and threaten us into handing over the headship?
なるほどね。
I see.
わかったわ。
I get it.
私たちが喜んで家督を放棄したくなるようにすればいいわけね。
They just have to do something to make us want to give up the headship willingly.
なるほど。
Yes, I see.
ならば確かにベアトリーチェは10トンの黄金を持っていなければならない。
To do that, Beatrice would have to own 10 tons of gold.
そうか。わしにもわかったで。
I see. I get it too.
つまり取引っちゅうわけやな。
In other words, it's a trade? Huh?
どういう意味ですか？
What do you mean?
取引？
A trade?
何を？
Trade what?
後ろ宮家の家督と隠し黄金をよ。
The Ushiromiya family headship for the hidden gold.
ベアトリーチェはきっと10トンの黄金の所在を明かし、それで後ろ宮家の家督を買収するつもりなのよ。
Beatrice surely plans to tell us the location of the 10 tons of gold and use that as a bribe to gain the Ushiromiya family headship.
バカバカしい。
Ridiculous! Smack.
栄光ある後ろ宮家の家督をお金でやり取りしようというのですか？
They want to trade the headship of the glorious Ushiromiya family for money?
冒涜です。
That's blasphemy!
後ろ宮家への冒涜です。
Blasphemy against the Ushiromiya family!
怒らずに聞いて。
Please listen without getting mad.
その栄光ある後ろ宮家には今、どの程度の財産があるの？
About how much wealth does this glorious Ushiromiya family have right now?
私たちはそんなにも裕福なの？
Are we really that affluent?
裕福の定義とは財産で決まるのではありません。
The definition of affluence is not dependent on property.
心の持ちようで決まります。
It is about heart.
私たちの財産状況が一体何の？
Our financial situation has nothing to... Kraus interrupted Natsuya as she started to go on and on emotionally. In this situation, the more she went on like that, the worse it would actually sound.
私はともかくお前たちの状況は芳しくないと聞いているよ。
Me aside, I hear your current situations are quite unfavorable.
あらそう。
Oh, really?
兄さんの財政状況だって相当に芳しくないと聞いているわよ。
I've heard that your financial situation's really bad too.
次々担保に入れて新しい博打の掛け金にして。
Offering up more and more as collateral for new money to gamble with.
負けを認めないために次々新しい博打に手を出して。
Repeatedly dabbling in new gambles, unable to accept your losses.
内情の話をしたらこの中で兄さんほど火の車の人間は存在しないわ。
If we count what's going on behind the scenes, you're in even bigger financial straits than the rest of us.
どれだけ損失を出してんのよ兄さんは。
Just how much money have you lost, Nissan?
才能ないのよ。
You have no talent. Damn.
誰の才能がないというのですか？
Who are you saying has no talent?
ユニコと書き、火の車とは。
And what do you mean, financial straits? Natsui became indignant once more, but Kraus raised his hand again and interrupted her.
多少の誤解があるようだ。
It seems you're making a small mistake.
ビジネスは経過で判断できるものではない。
Business is not something that can be judged based on current progress alone.
私のような長期的視野でのビジネスともなると、
For someone with a long-term outlook on business such as myself,
時に短い単位期間では一見大きな損失を出しているようにも見えるものだ。
it may sometimes appear at a glance that I've suffered significant short-term losses.
兄貴、
That's one way of spinning it. Nikki,
裏は取れてんだぞ。
we've been collecting evidence.
今は見栄を張ってる場合じゃない。
Your position right now isn't one to be proud of.
つまりキリエはこう言いたいのさ。
So this is what Kyrie's trying to say.
俺たちは全員が全員金に困ってる。
Every one of us has got money trouble.
そしてベアトリーチは10トンの黄金を持っている。
And Beatrice has 10 tons of gold.
ベアトリーチェは自分だけがありかを知る10トンの黄金で私たちに家督を売らせるつもりなのよ。
As the only person who knows the location of the 10 tons of gold, Beatrice is planning on using it to force us to sell the headship.
10トンの黄金の価値はどのくらい？
About how much is 10 tons of gold worth?
ざっと見積もって20億？
At a rough estimate, let's say 2 billion yen.
いえ、200億ね。
No, 20 billion yen. Okay, that's quite the difference there in numbers.
これだけを積まれたら私たちは歓喜して彼女を次期当主に認めるわ。
With that much piled up, we'd be ecstatic to accept her as a successor. The scene returned to silence. In fact, the rain and wind felt even noisier now. Actually, at the fear that it's going to go on for another thing, I was hoping for even a better finishing spot, but we did have a little slight fade to black. Let's call it there a night. We'll call it there a night. Call it there a night. Call it a night there. That's what I mean to say. We'll be back with fucking Umineko Saturday nights. If I can get my shit together, we can start early and we can go for a good chunk Saturday night Umineko. Should be back tomorrow though for stream. Should be able to make Wednesday before the Thursday off. Thank you so much for watching. Fun stream. Even odd one out was fun to check out back again. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your night. Stay safe. Stay well. Do good. Be good. All that jazz. See you in another stream. Until then, so long. Wind noises.